The room has already stopped treating your decision as final. Yes, you haven't seen it yet, but they have. They have seen what happens when they stay quiet. They have seen what happens when they wait a little longer than comfortable. They have seen you adjust things that were already clear before anyone asked you to. So they don't push anymore. They just wait because waiting works, and you've shown them that. I've been around people building serious things to know that this pattern doesn't care how experienced you are. Brand owners, music executives, artists managing their own careers, sharp people. People who can explain what is going wrong. People who can feel the shift while it's happening and still can't stop it. That's the part that is interesting to me. And that's because it means the problem isn't in the understanding. The problem is that the understanding doesn't reach. You assume you lose authority when you say something wrong. You don't. You lose it in what happens between knowing what to say and how you end up saying it. By the time it reaches the room, it's not the decision anymore. You've already added stuff to it, the softening, the extra words, the space you leave for reactions that haven't even happened yet. That's what people are reading. Not just the words, but what is behind them. Now, before we look at what this costs in business, it helps to look somewhere more personal. And that's because this didn't start in a client conversation. It was already there before that. Think about something you've been carrying. A conversation you needed to have with someone who matters to you. And I'm not talking about a client. I'm talking about someone personal to you. When you're alone with it, you know exactly what is needed to be said. There is no confusion. There is no second guessing. It's very clear to you. Then you're in front of the person, and what comes out is a slightly different version. That version is not wrong, but it has been reshaped. On your way out to saying it, you make it easier for them to take in. So it doesn't land with the same weight it had when it was just you. And now, everything starts building around that version, not the honest one, the adjusted version. Now, remove everyone else from it entirely. Think about something you committed to yourself, a standard, maybe a way of operating. The first time it became inconvenient, you didn't drop it. You adjusted it to be slightly more comfortable, slightly more easier to maintain, and you told yourself it was essentially the same thing, but it wasn't. That version asked less of you. And once it asks less of you, that's the version that stays. And the part people miss is that no one is watching. There's no room, no reaction, no external pressure. Just you, the commitment, and the moment you got uncomfortable to hold. That tells you where this actually lives. Not in your professional decisions, not in high pressure rooms. It's in you. And it was there long before any of those rooms. Now, take that response and put it into a conversation where the outcome matters. You put a number on the table, you knew it made sense. Then it goes quiet. Not for long, just that space where they process what you just said. And in that space, before they have said anything, your attention shifts. And your attention shifts from the number to what the silence means. You start worrying about what they are thinking or what it could turn into. And before they respond, you start adjusting, adding context that wasn't needed, creating flexibility that wasn't asked for. They didn't push you there. They just didn't say anything. Now, the conversation doesn't stay on the number you put down initially. It shifted to the version you had already started changing before they even replied. And it's the same thing with a boundary. You state a boundary clearly. Someone disagrees slightly. And instead of letting it stand, you explain it. You give it context. You soften the language. And as soon as you do that, it stops being a boundary. It becomes negotiable. Now they negotiate, not because they forced it, but because your response showed them that there is room. Most people try to solve this by working on how they communicate. They work on their delivery, confidence, and tonality. But those things live on the surface. This goes deeper than that. The decision wasn't unstable. Before anyone else was involved, it was clear. What changes is what happens before someone else enters. Your attention splits. One part stays with what you know, the other part starts watching the room, reading the silence, tracking the energy, calculating what might happen if the decision lands exactly as it is. And that second part starts shaping what comes out. You don't change the decision, you just don't let it land as it was. People feel that. They don't need to analyze it. They just feel that what is in front of them has a type of movement in it. They start feeling like it can shift. And once something feels like it can shift, it stops being treated as final. The difficult part is this. The adjustment doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like you're reading the situation well. It feels like you're being thoughtful, and that's why it keeps running. It never shows up as a mistake. It shows up as the right decision. Nothing collapses right away, and that's what makes it very hard to catch. Deals still close, conversation keeps going. From the outside, everything looks perfectly fine. But underneath all of that, something shifts. What you say stops landing like a position, and it starts sounding like a starting point. People pick up on that fast. They notice that if they don't react, something usually moves. So they stop pushing. They just wait. And over time, something slides. Prices come in lower. Your standards start to loosen. Decisions you thought were done come back again. And it's not because people are difficult, but because something in your response showed there was room. After enough of this, something changes in how you operate. You start checking before you move, checking how it's going to land. You start checking if the room is going to take it or not. What used to be clear now feels like something you have to manage. The version you go with isn't the one you trust anymore. You go with the version that feels the least likely to cause friction. And over time, that version becomes your default. Most people see this pattern and think that once they understand it, they will catch it next time. That hasn't worked. And it's not because understanding it isn't real, but because the understanding and the pattern, they don't live in the same place. Understanding happens in your head, the pattern happens in your body. It kicks in the moment pressure shows up, and it moves faster than you can think. By the time you notice it, it's already started. The decision is already softening. Yes, you didn't choose that. All your body did was to run something it has run a lot of time before. That's why understanding it doesn't change what happens in the moment. It's happening before you even get a chance to think about it. So by the time you notice it, it's already in motion. The decision is already starting to shift. What actually changes it is catching it as it starts, right there in the moment, not after. Do that enough times and your response starts to change. It takes time, but that's exactly what changes it. And that's exactly what the one-on-one coaching is designed for. Not helping you understand this better, you already understand it. It's about working with you the moment it actually shows up. When the room goes quiet, when the number is on the table, when the silence sits and the adjustment starts forming. Being there in those moments, catching it as it happens, and building a different response when it actually comes. If you've seen this in yourself, and you've noticed that seeing it isn't enough to change it, the first link in the description is where to go next. You're going to be in this moment again, soon. A number that needs to be held, a decision that needs to land as it is, something that needs to come out the way you had it before the room got involved. And when it happens, the sequence starts, your attention splits, you feel the adjustment forming. The easier version starts to feel like the smart one. Nothing forces you to stop it. You can follow it and everything keeps moving fine. The conversation goes on, nothing breaks, but something is off. And you can feel it after, when what came out isn't the same as what you walked in with. If you're ready to work on where it actually happens, the first link is where to go to. And if you're not there yet, subscribe. This is what we do here every week. One pattern that has been running quietly made clear. I'll see you in the next one.